Hey everyone, LEGO review season is about to begin again. But before it does, I wanted to go back and kind of review some of the stuff that I have done since the last review season. About 3 months before the recording of this video, I pledged to basically bring an early end to that previous review season for the late 2016, early 2017 kind of winter major release season. Slow down dramatically on the reviews and instead focus on the city and custom stuff. Well, I'm very happy to have been able to make good on that pledge, to have put a lot of time and effort into this. Still did some more reviews, but I'd say probably the majority of my effort into this and stuff kind of behind the scenes. So in one video, I just want to go through that stuff that I've done, just kind of summarize it all from the past few months. And I can start from right here because I left the little engine that could down at this end. It's the most recent thing that I've done as of the time of the recording of this video, the very last thing that I did. Just a little custom steam locomotive, a little tank engine based on the little engine that could story from my childhood and from the childhood of many people. Put together that engine, and the engine itself, the locomotive, actually works. It actually runs, has the power functions motor inside of it, and speed control on the top. Does not have remote control, but it does work. And I also added this little car behind it just to hold on to some animals, just so that the whole thing would kind of look like similar to, inspired by the train from the original adaptation of that story. I've done just a couple of cars along the way. Oh yeah, added just a few more palm trees over here and added in, you'll see throughout the city I've added in some of the official sets, but that doesn't really count, does it? I guess a little bit towards improving the city, but not towards the custom stuff at all. A couple of custom cars, actual cars, not train cars, but actual automobiles have been made. So that's one right there, that white one, which right now doesn't have a working chassis underneath it, but it was designed to work with those radio-controlled drift car chassis that I got to enable something like that to actually be driven around. And in the video of that, I actually covered it being driven around and properly drifted and everything. Continuing around this side, I've set up all of the other custom rail cars, the other unpowered rolling stock that I've done. So just a pair of these hoppers, and I did get the stickers onto the top based on a Bricklink order that you saw me unbox on video as well. So that pair is there, that's new. This trailer here is new, though not the car that it's on, but this is just a very extremely simple build. At least it has opening doors in the back. And then I got this pair of intermodal container carrying well cars. This one right here is set up with a single container. This one's set up with 2 containers in tandem. And then there are just some more flatbed cars that I've done with some kind of mock freight on top of them. Mock M-O-C-K, not M-O-C. This green locomotive here, this diesel electric, looks exactly like one that I already had previously, one that is over here, that is completely intentional because I simply cloned the thing so that I would be able to set up trains that have 2 of the same engine, either back to back or just directly in line. So it's just a clone, not a new custom build per se, but adds to the custom stuff and allowed me to remove another non-custom locomotive from the city. And then here is a fully new custom locomotive that's also been added in for this season, as is that back there, the genset style switcher, to have a larger switcher in my yard, something more powerful, something more substantive. That also replaced an official LEGO locomotive, allowing me to take all of my or the very last of my official LEGO locomotives out of my layout entirely. This is actually used parts from it. So all of my locomotives are either custom or customized. And that also helps to augment the yard over here so that I don't have just this tiny little switcher to deal with all the work in the yard. Speaking of switching, I guess, switching and switches, I did recently add in this little siding over here on the side to hold on to, basically give a little bit of parking space to some of my track maintenance stuff, which opens up space in the remainder of the yard to use for, well, for instance, some of these new cargo rolling stocks and these new cargo cars that I have. Now, the only thing that I have rail related on this layout that is not customized at all is one of these Amtrak, not Amtrak, not officially, not licensed, but one of these unlicensed Amtrak Metroliner club cars, and it's this one here in particular. I think I may have changed something on it, but it's not substantive. At least this second one here has been pretty substantively modified at the back. The whole thing has been extended in length, and then I turned it into a cab car based on what I used to see as a kid. That building right there, that I call the Blau House, that is new for this season. Doesn't have any interior detail yet, but the building itself is up. It was a very enjoyable, purely creative experience. It really took me far outside of my comfort zone with colors and shape to create something that is unique in the city and will kind of stand out. Meanwhile, I also, or just before that, I also got my Octane factory done on the outside. Haven't done the interior yet because that would have basically stopped me from doing all the other stuff that you're going to see in this video. Interiors take a tremendous amount of time, and I think that this was a very good choice to hold off on doing interiors for now to get more stuff into the city. Just in general, I think that this looks good and really helps with the look of the city, helps to progress things quite a lot. Something that is not entirely new is this gas station, the Shell gas station. It's just been adapted from its previous style, its previous shape, and its previous position to now have a more permanent position in this new city. It was originally designed for my original layout and a very specific place in that layout where it was actually kind of diagonal. It was trigonal in its shape. Now it fits into a more traditional overall shape. Right? It's just a rectangle, the block that it's on. But it fits into this space so much better. And I did a fair amount of modification, rebuild to the add-on service station to the side. And I still need to do a little bit more work to kind of integrate it in terms of the roads, just the driveways, basically. It works out from this side, but from the other side, I just need to kind of figure that out and get the signage right and everything. But that also looks pretty good to me. It's something that I liked that I had previously. It had just not... It had not had a place to live for quite a long time, so now it does. So that's a good thing. I'm going to go ahead and move over here. Hey, well, might as well pause right there for a moment. I added in that red semi-truck, that locomotive right there. So that's new and also kind of pushed my limits a little bit in terms of creativity. But I am recording this live. And I'm going to try to do it in one take because that's the best way. It's honest. But over here I also added in one more little trailer, just an intermodal container carrying trailer, which is another kind of copy deal where I just copied the one that I already had, which started out as a Maersk one, but ended up being pretty completely custom there. The cab unit on that little shunter truck just has a lot of color substitution done on it. But I came over to this end, and that was older though, the truck. I came over to this end to look at the boats, because I did this pusher boat, which is a little bit it's a lot larger than I wanted something towboat or tugboat like to be in the context of this city and this harbor here, but I really like it. I like the look of it. I like the color scheme. It has a certain amount of realism to it that just makes me happy. I did spend a lot of time during my early years around harbors and boats and such, and so this kind of feels like a little bit of an old home to me. But while I'm also looking at the boats and ships and stuff, well, there's that one. big old container ship. That was completed, and this one does have detail on the interior, and it works. It holds those intermodal containers, a whole stack of them, including some extra ones at the front. These can be also placed there, so that's a good thing. And it's really interesting to look at the difference in size between this and a Lego set that I had originally when I was a young kid. This freighter, look at that. Look at the difference in size between those two. They're basically supposed to represent the same thing. And to think, my custom container ship that's based on the largest unitary hull that Lego has ever made feels small to me. Like I would like it to be larger. I might actually make a larger container ship at some point, just because I want to. I feel like I need to have a really big container ship at some point. A lot of little modifications have been made that I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over again. Like I started bringing in some different color into the rail yard here. I did a massive amount of cleanup of the layout itself. Not in terms of like taking dust off it. Yeah, I dusted, sure. But I'm talking about the actual shape and connections of the different turnoffs and all the positions of the switches and everything were updated a lot to make this just look a lot better, to make it a lot more clean. And I opened up a lot of space in the process. So that was good. I removed the Jurassic World stuff, finally, that had been there for too long. And using part of that space, I resurrected an old idea that I had originally implemented in my original city very early on for a little temporary display for the minifigure world of dinosaurs in the park. So those are all supposed to represent animatronic dinosaurs that are there. Temporary stuff behind that on the other side of the rail, but I was able to add in, just taking up available space, add in another basically parking space for trains. I'm able to hold one of my extra passenger trains, custom passenger trains back there on its own siding now. And then down here, I did modify the elevated rail a bit along the way, but mostly down on this side where I extended the elevated rail for the first time. I had used the exact same layout for the elevated rail from my original city. Since I moved to this house, I finally extended that a little bit, which changed everything all through the kind of main downtown area of the city. Previously, there were kinks in the road, turns and such, but now you can come over to here at the end and look all the way down. And it's just a straight shot all the way to the end. So that really helped with the shape of the downtown area, and it's going to really help with future builds, future custom builds, as I do more skyscrapers towards the middle and start to taper things off towards this end. Also, in that process, I opened up a lot of space down here. A lot. And mostly a lot of options for other things to do. Different ways that I can kind of shape up this end of the city. That's going to be a lot more useful in the future than it looks today. Right now, it looks like, okay, yeah, just some more base plates and it's kind of empty. And are you ever going to do anything with Planetary Defense Force Base? Are you ever going to get rid of these temporary, quote-unquote temporary displays for the Lego City space stuff and the volcano stuff? Well, yes. The answer is still yes, I promise you. And the future for this area is much brighter now than it was previously. Doesn't mean that future is going to come any sooner, but it is much brighter. I have many more options for exactly what I can do in this place. As I carefully walk backwards, making sure I don't run into anything, you might hear just a little clash and clank of me running into something because I'm not looking. Anyway, over here on the side, just another little side project that I did was this whole rail rider thing that I did just as another thing to just push the limits of creativity for me. Well, not necessarily the limits, but just kind of exercise more creativity. Try to do things that are not realistic, just intentionally doing things just for fun that are weird and different. I wanted to do a minimum of 4 of these. I ideally wanted to do more, but with review season about to begin now, I think this is actually where this is going to end, at least for now. I could always do more in the future, but at least for now, I'll probably replace some of the motors that are inside of these things with just static ones so that I can use those very valuable 9-volt motors underneath, because even though review season is coming, I'm still going to continue doing some custom stuff because I like it too much. And I've got a lot of good momentum going, but I think this is just about it for now for this particular little experiment that I did. Just trying to do different stuff just for the sake of doing different stuff. Out of these, my personal favorite is the yellow one, Rod. I just think it looks kind of like a 1980s arcade game ship, like an insect-inspired thing. Kind of has a fly on the wall kind of look to it. And I think my second favorite, but in a close second place, would be the Magna one. It's just very unique. I also like the classic space one. The original one is definitely my least favorite. Azure seems to be the favorite amongst viewers by far, but it's definitely my personal least favorite by far. But that was a fun little project, and I don't regret it one bit. Even the time that I used for it, I could have done things that were maybe more popular, would have gotten more views, would have been more interesting to some folks, but I had fun with it. And I think it was a good thing, just kind of exercising creativity. I'm looking for another car. Let's see. Yes, there. That green one. I've seen a few green ones. Very similar color schemes. I need to stop doing green cars for a little bit. But that little car right there is also a new little convertible, and that one's kind of forgettable. But the important thing about it is that when I put it in, I also took out a non-custom car. That's what I like to do, and I like integrating the non-custom stuff as it becomes available, especially the things that I like in particular. I like bringing them into the city and kind of giving them a place to live, giving them some life for a time, but then eventually it kind of settles in that, hey, this is not custom. Like that school bus right there. I really want to get rid of that school bus. It's been right here really close and easy for me to see for too long, and I want to get rid of it. And I also want to replace that mail truck there. I want to come up with a design for mail trucks in my city in general. These camper things are cool. Eventually they'll get replaced with something, but for now, they're not bugging me yet. But things like these old vehicles that don't even look good in the first place, they gots to go. That will continue. That whole process of getting rid of non-custom stuff and replacing it with custom stuff, that'll continue. Building custom stuff in general will continue. Working on this city in general will continue. However, like I said, review season is about to begin. It's right around the corner, and there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of really interesting stuff coming out. Lego always does nowadays about 300 products. I hope to cover at least 100, probably around a half of those that they come up with for this year. I think that there's not going to be anywhere near that for this one season, but definitely much more than half. Much more than half, especially this season. A lot of the good stuff is coming out. And there's something I just realized I need to do. Hang on. Yeah. I have to turn the lights on. I almost forgot about that. That's been within the past few months. This is pretty recent, actually. Getting most of the first year Nexonite stuff out of this layout, turning the terrain around and putting in the Season 3 stuff, such as it exists so far. This will be added to. I think it'll look much better once I get the second wave of sets in here, once those come out and I get them reviewed and everything. But yeah, that is a pretty large thing that was done, physically large thing that was done since review season. The last review season kind of came to a close, so that's worth looking at. And I also realized that there's something else I forgot under the tables. How could I forget this? Bringing the Silent Mary down to my underwater layout. That was actually quite very recent, but an important large change to this room and to the overall Lego displays that I have. Something that has added a very nice large new element to the stuff down here, because there's a lot of space that's used up beneath the tables. I'll be adding more as well. But yeah, that's another thing that I almost forgot about for this video. A Minecraft layout, though, that's one that has not changed too recently. Yeah, it's been within the past couple of seasons, but not since that last review season ended. But there are still more sets coming out in the LEGO Minecraft series, which is great, and it's really cool stuff. So I'm starting to consider for the first time actually expanding this layout. I thought that I was going to end at this point, but I think I may actually figure out a way to add more tables down here and add even more stuff to this in the future. Just giving myself more work though. Dang. But that's just it for now for my look back at what I did over the past few months, custom-wise and city-wise. There's probably some other stuff along the way that some of you have noticed that I've kind of forgotten about by now because I've been focused on newer stuff. But just in general, if you look at this city now and then you go back a few months on the playlist, kind of the city update playlist or the layouts playlist, I think the city update's the best one to look in. I think you'll see some pretty serious changes, and you'll see a lot less non-custom stuff now, a lot more custom stuff. You'll see a lot more structures in place. You'll see a lot more life in general. Before I forget, before I end, gosh, how could I forget the single most important thing that I've done in the past few months was binge watching with my wife One Punch Man and then bringing him to life in Lego form. Nobody likes the thing on the top, the tile on the top of his head, but I like it. I think it's important to indicate the dome shape of his head. I might even customize that tile piece just to make it round around the sides to emphasize the dome shape of his head. Yeah, I could just leave that off, but I don't want to. I want to have something up there on top, and I'm actually going to make him better in the future. But yeah, one of the most important things was One Punch Man. That was a life-changing experience, and to have him immortalized in Lego form is very, very important to my life. Really, really is. So that's that. Thank you for watching. I've really enjoyed this kind of mostly break from the review stuff to focus on the creative stuff, which is the most important stuff to me personally. And I look forward to doing more of it in addition to the review stuff that I'm going to be focusing on for a bit. So things will kind of go in cycles. I think this is going to work pretty well. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. Thanks for watching. I will talk to you again very soon.